2018's God of War took the gaming scene by storm, arguably stealing some of the thunder that came later in the year from another highly anticipated release. Kratos' tonal shift becoming a more sympathetic dad of boy, and his entry into Norse mythology along with a massive gameplay overhaul was risky but necessary. Sony's Santa Monica knew it was time to take the franchise in a new, fresh direction, and thank Kratos they did because it was a massive success. Financially speaking, Sony was rolling in cash as God of War 2018 was breaking sales records at launch, and as of late 2020, there's been strong indication that the game has sold around 20 million copies. Now, creatively speaking, so much was set up and teased, which has ignited dozens upon dozens of theories and questions of what's next. Not just for the next few games tackling Norse mythology, but potentially down the road with the exploration of other pantheons. Something teased in the 2018 installment in a few murals, which depict Tyr, the Norse god of war, interacting and establishing relationships with that of the Mayan, Japanese, Greek, Egyptian, and Celtic pantheons. Shortly before God of War's release in 2018, in an interview with Game Informer, creative director Cory Barlog actually commented on the possibility of Kratos further branching out into other mythology, saying, "We may end up going on to the Egyptian era, and then the Mayan era, and so on and so forth." Around this time, in an interview with Kotaku, Barlog further elaborated on his view of the God of War universe, saying, "I've always looked at this universe like our world. The geography separates the cultural mythologies. The cultural mythologies are stories of the 0 point to present day. These are the birth and the origin of these cultures. So the Norse mythology exists in Scandinavia and simultaneously across the world. The Mayan mythology has its own origins, right? These are cultural stories about how they explain the birth of their cultures, and I think, as I look at the whole world, that each of these gods had their own domains, right? The way that countries had their own domains. So all of this sets up the possibility of Kratos' journey continuing for many, many years to come, unless Sony Santa Monica is preparing to go in a different, new, bold direction. The ending of God of War 2018 presented many questions about the immediate and long-term future. With Baldur's death, Fimbulwinter had begun, and Ragnarok was quickly approaching, an event that was constantly mentioned throughout the game, mostly by Mimir.
It is said that when Jormungandr and Thor battle at Ragnarok, their clash so violently shakes the Tree of Life that it splinters, casting the serpent backward through time, even before his own birth.
What?
That is madness.
Well, I did say not to concern yourself.
Why is Odin so desperate to find a way into Jotunheim anyway?
He's convinced the giants hold the key to changing his fate when Ragnarok comes. They are the Aesir's oldest enemies, after all, and it's their army that's supposed to do him in the end. But more than that, he covets their gifts of prophecy. He wants to know what they know and see what they see. So much suffering could have been avoided if his insatiable curiosity was not so much stronger than his wisdom.
Ragnarok will bring about the end of the world, even for the Aesir gods who for many years have gone out of their way to avoid their fate. Mimir tells stories to Kratos and Atreus of the bloody measures the Aesir and Vanir gods have undertaken to prevent the inevitable. Odin is taken to learn as much about the future and attempt to alter his destiny by any means. Freya used a powerful spell on her son Baldur, knowing his death was prophesized and was to bring about Ragnarok. Thor went on a murderous, cruel rampage which resulted in the death of many of the Jotnar and Midgard and Jotunheim. Still though, the giants knew what was to come thanks to their gift of seeing visions of the future, something that made Odin jealous, paranoid, and mad. Kratos' wife and Atreus' mother, the giantess Faye, used her gift to leave markings and essentially directions for Kratos and Atreus. She knew what was to come, the journey they would take, and the decisions that they would have to make. Cory Barlog referred to her crucial role in God of War as that of a dungeon master. Everything she did was for a reason. God of War 2018 is just full of so many small but key details, such as when Kratos chucks the Leviathan axe into the Lake of the Nine, getting the attention of the World Serpent, who then rises from the water, spitting the Leviathan axe out of his mouth back to the boat Kratos and Atreus were using. But if you look closely, the axe has been changed. The phrase "Ader imbued" is is displayed, meaning the serpent's venom is now part of the axe, which is of magnificent importance. In Ragnarok, it's prophesied that the world serpent and Thor will face off, with the serpent being hit so hard that he's sent back before his birth. It's revealed in God of War 2018 that Jormungandr one day mysteriously just appeared in the Lake of the Nine, which is likely the result of what happens in Ragnarok. In real Norse mythology, both Jormungandr and Thor are supposed to kill each other. Thor slays the world serpent and afterwards takes a few steps and dies because of the serpent's venom that had been spewed at him during the fight. Now in God of War, Jormungandr's venom is within Kratos' axe, which could be hinting that Kratos will kill the God of Thunder. By far, the biggest revelation from God of War 2018 was the ending, in which Atreus is revealed to be Loki, the trickster shape-shifting god, which plays a significant role in Ragnarok. Jormungandr in the 2018 installment tells Mimir that Atreus is familiar to him, and that might be because, at least in Norse mythology, Loki is the father of the world serpent.
What else did the serpent tell you when you spoke? Kinda sounded important.
I'm sure it's nothing. He just said the boy seemed familiar to him.
Me? That's impossible.
Oh, I quite agree. Unless, perhaps, he refers to something yet to be.
He is also the father of Hel, the goddess of death and ruler of Helheim, and Fenrir, the wolf giant which is destined to kill and be killed by Odin. Also teased at the end of the game was the possible death of Kratos. A mural is shown only to Kratos, which appears to have Atreus holding his father in his arms dying. Writing around the mural says death, father, mourned, and betrayal, which is of course open to interpretation. Some believe this might not even be Kratos, but that of Odin or even Tyr. Some believe Kratos, who is Farbadi, could also be Tyr. Lots of questions, lots of theories, and only time will tell for what all of this means. It is important to know that Cory Barlog has said that they teased a lot in God of War 2018 for the future.
You could go back and you could look at it, so much so that if we do a second game or a third game, you're going to go back to the first one and you're going to be like, oh my God, that was there. Right? I have so many things in there that are just setups for much later and much, much later and really far later. So I'm a lunatic.
The big secret conclusion of God of War 2018 was Atreus having a vision of Thor coming to their home a few years later, summoning a storm, revealing his nuclear bomb of a weapon Mjolnir, and very likely looking to avenge the deaths of his half-brother and sons. This showdown is expected to happen in God of War 2, Ragnarok, or whatever you wish to refer to the sequel as for now. In September 2020, we got our first teaser trailer, which didn't show too much, but we had an updated now blue cold omega symbol, with the runes now spelling out Ragnarok, and Kratos says, "The time grows near, you must prepare yourself," with snow flowing in the background. The trailer concludes with the text, "Ragnarok is coming," slowly transitioning in along with the 2021 release window. A year prior, with celebrating God of War 2018's one-year anniversary, Sony Santa Monica released a new God of War PS4 dynamic theme, which included a secret tease in the boat Kratos and Atreus were using. It was Nordic runes that translates into Ragnarok is coming. So it's quite clear that Sony Santa Monica has been teasing this for quite some time. But what if Ragnarok is coming is actually not necessarily referring to the next game? This could be something similar to Game of Thrones' Winter is Coming. There's many in the God of War community that believe this sequel will be set towards the end of Fimbulwinter, an event that started immediately once Baldur was killed. Fimbulwinter in Norse mythology is the precursor to Ragnarok. It's a 3-year-long period of heavy snow and blizzards. Brock and Sindri note Fimbulwinter has begun with snowfall worsening with each passing day.
I'm telling you, it's Fimbulwinter. I can feel it in my scrot. This is the big one.
Stop saying that. Oh, you're making me very nervous. It was bound to snow sooner or later.
That ain't just snow, and you know it. It's the end times.
How dare you make me the voice of reason?
Guys?
Just discussing the weather. Bit of a cold snap lately.
What he means is, Fimbulwinter's upon us, boys. The winter to end all winters. I can feel it in my scrot.
In the 2020 book God of War Lore and Legends, which includes expanded lore written in collaboration with Cory Barlog, it tells Atreus' point of view of the events of 2018's God of War, and also briefly expands on what has happened since. Atreus reveals that Fimbulwinter has indeed begun, and Kratos wants to meet with Freya again, for obvious reasons. Brock and Sindri have broken down down their workshops near the Sky Mover in Tyr's temple and consolidated all of their blacksmith equipment in a cave by the Lake of Nine. Mimir tells Atreus that he's unsure if Kratos can kill Thor. 6 wolves approached Atreus at the Wildwoods, only for them to howl at the sky. Hellwalkers are becoming more organized. Kratos is using the Blades of Chaos more often. Atreus feels all of Midgard getting ready for something, and the Lake of Nine becomes frozen, with Odin locking the remaining realm travel rooms. It's also further emphasized that blizzards are becoming regular occurrences and strange new beasts are roaming the land. This all very well may be the setting of this sequel. The belief many have is that this next God of War will end with Ragnarok beginning, and this Norse chapter will come to a close with a third game, which takes on the entirety of the chaotic Ragnarok, and maybe sets the stage for what's to come after this Norse chapter. So basically, first game leads to the start of Fimbulwinter, second game takes place within Fimbulwinter and maybe the start of Ragnarok, and the third game deals with the rest of Ragnarok and whatever else comes afterwards. As I said before, there's just so many routes that Sony's Santa Monica could be going in. One theory is that this next game may end with Thor kidnapping Loki and having him chained up until he breaks free at Ragnarok to assist the giants with defeating the Aesir gods, somewhat similar to Norse mythology. As was teased towards the end of God of War 2018, there's also very likely another foe that both Kratos and Atreus will deal with in this upcoming sequel, and that is Freya. Mimir sounded, at least at first, skeptical about whether or not she would actually seek revenge, but he later reveals after Atreus and Kratos visited Jotunheim that Freya visited him and asked for information on the location of her Valkyrie wings, which Odin had previously stripped and hid away.
From the time you were away in Jotunheim.
Well, tell us then.
It concerns Freya. She paid me a visit.
What did you tell her?
What little I know about where Odin may have kept her Valkyrie wings. Seems she's rather bent on reclaiming her warrior spirit. I'm afraid the cycle of vengeance may not be so easily broken.
So it certainly seems likely that the true Queen of the Valkyries, Freya, is going to attempt to unleash her wrath upon Kratos and Atreus for killing her son, which might even bring her to siding with Odin. The actress who portrays the Vanir goddess even teased in now deleted tweets her character gaining the wings. So while this next God of War is slated for a 2021 release, it's very likely it won't be coming this year. Many within the gaming community were shocked when they saw that release date, surprised by how soon this new game was coming out, but since the September 2020 reveal, Sony has been absolutely silent. With the current pandemic ravaging game development timelines, this very likely will be a first half of 2022 release, if not later. Video game insider and journalist Jason Schreier gave further weight to this thinking a number of weeks ago when he said on Twitter, "I've got a nice, shiny bridge to sell anyone who thinks God of War is coming out this year." Regardless, Sony Santa Monica has been busy for quite some time on this sequel. In early 2019, a developer teased motion capture work had begun, and throughout the year the studio went on a mass hiring spree. Just a number of weeks ago, Cory Barlog put out a tweet likely referencing this next God of War by telling fans it's coming when it's done. Sony definitely sounds like they're willing to give the studio as much time as they need, with PlayStation Studios head Herman Holst saying a number of weeks ago that God of War Ragnarok is his most anticipated game, and further teased that I cannot wait for people to see what Santa Monica is making. Now, for what platforms this next game will be available on, Sony has again been silent on this. In November 2020, PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan was asked about this and declined to give an answer. So there's a chance that this launches on both the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 consoles. Anyway, the next time we see this next God of War will probably be around E3 2021. While Sony very likely will not be participating in the event, as they've done in previous years, they'll probably hold their own pre-recorded State of Play event in early June. They have a lot to reveal, not just in regards to the next God of War, but other blockbusters like Horizon Forbidden West. Hopefully we do see some gameplay and confirmation of whether or not this game will directly be taking on the events of Ragnarok or not. Still though, there are just so many questions that remain, like will we actually discover that Tyr is alive? Did Modi even die? Are all the giants in Jotunheim actually dead? Did Faye's ashes maybe resurrect or awaken them? How much older will Atreus be? Will Atreus or will Loki start to develop and use some of his powers? Will we travel to Vanaheim, Asgard, or Svartalfheim? The realms we were barred from in the 2018 installment, Vanaheim is home to the Vanir gods and described as a realm with lushful gardens, abundant fields, and memories of their ugly, brutal war with the Aesir gods. Asgard is the fortified home of the Aesir gods, which too is very likely beautiful but with a history of wars and battles. Svartalfheim is home of the dwarves and dark elves. It appears to be a forested realm with not much known other than that. Each of these realms are sealed off, but in the next game, especially Vanaheim and Asgard, could Kratos and Atreus enter into these realms in search of allies, answers, and possibly confrontations? Kratos already has the Leviathan axe and Blades of Chaos, but will we see him gain a new third weapon? Will we learn more about Faye and what happened to her and her motivations? Will it be revealed that Freya's boar is actually someone of great importance, like maybe her brother, the Vanir god Freyr, who the Light Elves are searching for and believe is the key to peace in their realm, but is currently missing? Will Kratos reveal more of his past to Atreus? Cory Barlog has said that Kratos has more room for growth, and maybe, just maybe, Atreus learns about his half-sister, Calliope, and what sadly happened to her. Will Kratos actually die? Can he even die? One of the biggest mysteries that Cory Barlog just recently teased was who blew the horn. Many probably had this go over their head or just forgot about this, but when Kratos is taking a sick Atreus to Freya, someone blows the horn to get the attention and speak to the World Serpent.
Somebody just called the serpent.
This is without a doubt one of the biggest mysteries, and some believe this could be Kratos and or Atreus traveling back through time. Cory Barlog in 2018 gave a hint for this question, saying, who do you think who would be walking in their footsteps looking for them, which is intentionally vague. While there have been various rumors and supposed leaks, one interesting one is Nathan Fillion portraying a character in the next game. Nathan Fillion in early 2020 posted on Instagram a photo of himself alongside the actor that portrays Baldur in God of War, and the description of the post, he may or may not have been teasing a collaboration to come in the future with Sony Santa Monica and Cory Barlog. Anyway, very soon we should be learning much more about this upcoming new God of War game. What are your expectations? What gods do you wish to see appear? And what are some of your predictions? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games, and again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this. I'll see you later.